General Paul Martinez stood on the bridge of the UE's Vengeance as it dropped out of hyperspace above the Zephyrian homeworld. The massive planet below was blue and green like Earth, but it was home to the species that had tried to exterminate humanity. The war had been going on for 2 years now. The Zephyrians no longer talked about cleansing the galaxy of humans. Instead, they sent surrender messages every day, begging for peace. But humans had learned something important during those 2 years of fighting. Peace was what you had before someone tried to kill your entire species. General, we're receiving multiple surrender signals from the Planetary Defense Force, reported Commander Rachel Davis from the communications station. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. They're offering complete surrender, full reparations, and immediate withdrawal from all human space. Paul looked at the tactical display. The Zephyrian homeworld was defended by 300 ships, but they weren't moving into attack positions. They were just sitting there, sending surrender signals over and over. Any response from Earth Command? Paul asked. Rachel checked her messages. Yes, sir. President Wilson and the Joint Chiefs have sent their final answer. Quote, the Zephyrians came to exterminate us. They burned our colonies and killed our families. They taught us that mercy is weakness. We learned that lesson. The war ends when the Zephyrian Empire no longer exists. End quote. Paul nodded. He had expected that answer. The human government had tried diplomacy for the first 6 months of the war. They had offered ceasefires and peace talks. The Zephyrians had responded by burning more human colonies and demanding complete surrender. Now it was too late for diplomacy. Captain Dan Mitchell commanded the human fleet of 800 ships surrounding the Zephyrian homeworld. His flagship, the UES Retribution, was built from reverse-engineered alien technology. Humans have learned to combine their own stubborn nature with Zephyrian weapons and shields. All fleet commanders report status, Dan announced over the fleet communication system. One by one, the human ship captains reported ready for battle. These weren't the same kinds of ships that had fought at the beginning of the war. These were bigger, faster, and deadlier. Every human ship carried weapons taken from destroyed Zephyrian vessels. Every human ship was crewed by people who had lost family and friends to alien attacks. Dr. Karen White worked in the science lab aboard the Retribution. She was no longer making bombs in underground tunnels. Now she was the head of the Human Xenotechnology Division. Her job was to make sure that human weapons were better than anything the aliens had. Captain Mitchell, the new plasma cannons are ready for testing, Karen reported. We've improved the design based on captured Zephyrian technology. Our weapons now hit harder and charge faster than theirs do, Dan smiled. The Zephyrians had made their biggest mistake when they decided to fight humans. Other species probably gave up when they realized they were outmatched. Humans just got angry and started figuring out how to build better weapons. On the planet below, Zephyrian leaders gathered in their capital city to send one final peace offer. High Commander Zeph Prime was the ruler of an empire that had conquered 17 different species. He had never lost a war before. Send this message to the human fleet, Zeph Prime ordered his communications officer. We offer complete and unconditional surrender. We will withdraw from all human space immediately. We will pay any compensation they demand. We will share all our technology. We will submit to any terms they require. Please, we beg for mercy. The message was transmitted to every human ship in the fleet. Captain Dan Mitchell received it on the bridge of the Retribution. He read it twice, then called Earth Command for instructions. The response from Earth came within minutes. It was signed by the President, the Secretary of Defense, and every military commander on Earth. The Zephyrian Empire has forfeited any right to mercy. They came to our worlds as exterminators. They will be treated as exterminators. Begin the final assault. Dan opened a channel to the entire human fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Mitchell. The Zephyrians are offering surrender. Earth Command has rejected their offer. The enemy taught us that some fights don't end with negotiation. They end when one side can never fight again. All ships, commence attack. The human fleet opened fire on the Zephyrian defense ships. The battle was not even close. Human weapons, built from improved alien technology and powered by 2 years of anger, cut through Zephyrian shields like they weren't there. Within an hour, the alien defense fleet was destroyed. Not a single human ship was lost. High Commander Zeph Prime watched from his command center as human ships entered the atmosphere of his homeworld. He sent one final message to the human fleet commander. Admiral Mitchell, please. We surrender. Completely. We will do anything you ask. Our species has learned from this war. We know now that humans cannot be conquered. We will leave your galaxy and never return. We beg you to show mercy to the civilians on our world. Dan read the message while looking at the tactical display. The Zephyrian homeworld had 12 billion civilians living on it. Men, women, children, families who had never seen a human before this war started. He thought about the human colonies that the Zephyrians had burned. New Haven, where 40,000 humans had died. New Texas, where 50,000 had been killed. River's End, Blue Ridge, Pine Valley, and dozens of other worlds where millions of humans had lost their lives. Dan opened a communication channel to High Commander Zeph Prime. His response was broadcast to every ship in both fleets and recorded for history. High Commander, 2 years ago your empire decided that humans were inferior and dangerous. You decided that we needed to be exterminated. You came to our homes and killed our families. You taught us that in this galaxy, it's kill or be killed. Dan paused, looking at the planet below where 12 billion Zephyrians waited to learn their fate. You were right about one thing. Humans are dangerous. We're dangerous because we don't forget when someone tries to murder our children. We're dangerous because we don't forgive people who burn our worlds. We're dangerous because we learn from our enemies. The human fleet moved into bombardment positions above the Zephyrian homeworld. Every human ship had enough firepower to destroy cities. High Commander, you taught us that mercy is weakness. You taught us that some species don't deserve to exist. You taught us that the strong have the right to exterminate the weak. Dan's final words were heard across the galaxy, broadcast by both human and alien communication networks. Thank you for the lesson. We learned it well. The Zephyrian Empire, which had existed for 3,000 years and conquered 17 different species, ended that day. The survivors would tell other aliens about the species that got stronger when you tried to destroy them. They would warn the galaxy about the humans who never forgot and never forgave when someone tried to exterminate them. Some lessons, once learned, changed everything forever. The morning sun rose over the crystal city of Veltara, casting rainbow colors through the tall buildings that reached toward the sky. The Zephyrians were already busy with their daily work, their skin glowing soft blue and green as they felt happy and peaceful. Children played in the floating gardens while their parents tended to the energy farms that powered their world. Elder Vexara stood on the highest tower, looking out over his beautiful home planet of Ethros Prime. At 7 feet tall with crystal-like skin that sparkled in the sunlight, he was one of the oldest and wisest of his people. His skin showed deep purple colors, which meant he was thinking hard about something important. The Zephyrians had lived in peace for over 800 years. They had no armies, no weapons of war, only small security forces to help during storms or accidents. Their telepathic minds could speak to each other across great distances, and they used this gift to trade with other peaceful worlds throughout the galaxy. They were known everywhere as gentle healers and wise teachers, but on this day, something was wrong. Vexara could feel it in the air. a strange vibration that made his crystal skin turn dark orange with worry. The other elders had felt it too. Their telepathic network was picking up something from deep space, something that filled them with fear they had never known before. The first ships appeared as tiny dots against the blue sky. Within minutes, those dots grew larger and larger until they blocked out the sun itself. Massive black vessels, each one the size of a mountain, descended through the atmosphere like falling stones. The peaceful Zephyrians stopped their work and looked up in wonder and terror. More ships kept coming. Hundreds of them. The sky turned dark as night as the alien fleet filled the air above every major city on Ethros Prime. These were not the curved, elegant ships of the peaceful traders, who sometimes visited their world. These vessels were angular and brutal, covered in spikes and weapons that gleamed with deadly purpose. From the largest ship, a voice boomed across the planet in the Zephian language, though it was spoken with a harsh accent that hurt their sensitive ears. People of Ethros Prime, you are now property of the Korthek Empire. Submit to our rule, and you will be enslaved. Resist, and you will die. You have 1 hour to surrender your leaders. The Zephyrians had never heard of the Korthek Empire, but they quickly learned what these aliens were capable of. The first plasma beam struck the eastern city of Morthia, turning a 1,000-year-old crystal spire into molten glass in seconds. The second beam hit a school where children were learning about the peaceful history of their world. There were no survivors. Panic spread across Ethros Prime like wildfire. The Zephyrians, with their gentle nature and crystal bodies, were not built for war or violence. Many simply stood frozen in terror as the bombing began in earnest. Their telepathic screams of pain and fear filled the minds of every living Zephyrian. On the planet, Elder Vexara watched in horror as his beautiful world began to burn. The floating gardens were blasted apart, their remains falling like broken dreams to the ground below. The energy farms exploded in brilliant flashes of light, leaving the cities dark and powerless. Everywhere he looked, his people were running and screaming, their crystal skin flashing red with terror. Alert the defense force, he commanded to his aide, a young Zephyrian named Kellin, whose skin was almost white with fear. Elder, our defense force has only 50 ships, Kellin replied through their telepathic link. They are not warships. They are rescue vehicles and patrol craft. What can they do against this? Vexara knew the young one was right, but they had to try something. The small Zephyrian defense craft rose to meet the invasion fleet, their pilots brave despite having no training for real combat. The Korthek ships destroyed them all within minutes, swatting them from the sky like insects. The bombardment continued for hours. The Kortheks were not interested in capturing the planet quickly. They seemed to enjoy causing fear and destruction. Their ships moved slowly over each city, taking their time to destroy every beautiful building, every work of art, every sign of the peaceful civilization that had taken centuries to build. From his command center deep underground, Vexara tried to coordinate evacuation efforts, but where could his people go? The Korthek ships were everywhere, hunting down any Zephyrian who tried to escape to the countryside. Transport ships trying to leave the planet were shot down before they could reach space. As night fell, or what passed for night under the shadow of the enemy fleet, Vexara received reports that made his crystal heart break. Half the major cities were gone, reduced to smoking ruins. Millions of his people were dead, and millions more were trapped in burning buildings or hiding in caves and underground shelters. The young aide, Kellin, approached him with tears streaming down his crystal face. Elder, we are receiving communications from other worlds. The Korthek Empire has done this before. They have destroyed 17 different species. The Altarians, the Bendari, the celestial monks of Corinth, all gone. All turned to slaves or corpses. Vexara felt his skin turn the deepest purple of despair. What of the Galactic Council? Surely they will help us? They are meeting now. Elder, but their ships are days away, even at fastest speed. And some say they are afraid to fight the Korthax. The Empire is too strong, they say, too dangerous to challenge. Through the underground complex, Vexara could hear the cries of Zephyrian refugees who had managed to reach safety. Families torn apart, children orphaned, ancient knowledge lost forever as libraries and schools burned above their heads. His beautiful people, who had never known violence, were learning what evil looked like that night as the Korthak bombardment continued. Above them, Elder Vexara made his way to the most powerful communication array on Ethros Prime. It was built deep in the planet's core, designed to send messages across the galaxy to other peaceful worlds. His hands shook as he activated the ancient device. "This is Elder Vexara of Ethros Prime," he spoke into the transmitter, his voice carrying across the stars. "We are under attack by the Korthak Empire. Our people are dying. Our world is burning. If anyone receives this message anywhere in the galaxy, please help us. We have never asked for anything but peace and friendship. Now we beg for mercy, for salvation, for any aid you can provide. Please, someone help us." The message went out into the dark of space, reaching hundreds of worlds. Most who heard it felt sadness and fear, but none felt able to help. The Korthak Empire was too strong, too cruel, too dangerous to challenge, but the message traveled farther than Vexara knew, reaching corners of the galaxy that had never been mapped by the peaceful species of the known worlds. It reached a small, blue planet where a young species had just learned to listen to the stars, a species that had never heard of the Galactic Council or the Korthak Empire, a species that did not yet know they were about to change the galaxy forever. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his third cup of coffee when the computer screens in the Cheyenne Mountain facility started flashing red. He had been working the night shift at the SETI Response Division for 12 years, listening to signals from deep space. Most nights were quiet, filled with nothing but cosmic background noise and the occasional pulsar. But tonight was different. "Sir, you need to see this," called out Sergeant Lisa Kim from her monitoring station. Her voice was tight with excitement and fear. "We're picking up a transmission from outside our solar system. It's not natural. Someone is talking out there." Jake hurried over to her station, his coffee forgotten. On the screen, waves of signal. Data scrolled past in patterns that could only mean one thing. This was intelligent communication, and it was coming from very far away. "Can you clean it up, make it clearer?" Jake asked. "Working on it now, sir." Lisa's fingers flew across her keyboard. Slowly, the static cleared and a voice came through the speakers. It was speaking in a language no human had ever heard, but there was no mistaking the tone. This was someone in terrible pain and fear. "Get me Dr. Amy Walsh on the phone right now," Jake ordered. "And wake up General Rodriguez. Tell him we have a Code 7 situation." Within an hour, the secret underground facility was buzzing with activity. Dr. Amy Walsh, Earth's leading expert on alien languages and communication, worked with her team to decode the message. The computers ran translation programs while linguists tried to figure out the basic structure of the alien language. "It's definitely a distress call," Dr. Walsh announced to the room full of military officers and scientists. "Someone called. The Zephyrians is under attack by something called the Korthak Empire. They're asking for help, begging actually. And from what I can tell, they're dying." Jake felt his stomach drop. Humanity's first contact with alien life, and it was a cry for help from people being murdered. "How far away are they?" "About 47 light years," replied Dr. Susan Miller, the facility's astrophysicist. "In the direction of the constellation Cygnus. But sir, there's more. We're picking up other signals too, military communications from the attackers." The next few hours were a blur of activity as more information came in. The attacking force was huge, with hundreds of ships. The defenders had almost no military capability. It was not a war, it was a massacre. And from the intercepted enemy communications, it was clear that this Korthak Empire had done this many times before to other peaceful species. "Sir, President Carter is on the secure line," announced a communications officer. Jake picked up the red phone that connected directly to the White House. "Madam President, I assume you've been briefed on the situation." "I have, Captain Morrison. How reliable is this intelligence?" "Very reliable, ma'am. We have multiple confirmation sources. There's a genocide happening out there, and the victims asked for help." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Captain, I'm calling an emergency cabinet meeting. I want you and Dr. Walsh in Washington in 2 hours. Bring everything you have." The flight to Washington gave Jake time to think about what was happening. For decades, people had wondered what humanity's first contact with aliens would be like. Scientists had written papers about it, movies had been made about it, governments had secret plans for it, but nobody had planned for this. Nobody had imagined that first contact would be a desperate cry from people about to be wiped out. The White House Situation Room was packed when Jake and Dr. Walsh arrived. President Lisa Carter sat at the head of the table, surrounded by her cabinet and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. General Pete Rodriguez, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, was pointing at a holographic star map that showed the location of the alien signals. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Carter began, "we are facing the most important decision in human history. 47 light-years away, an intelligent species is being exterminated by an aggressive empire. They have asked for help. The question before U.S. is simple: what do we do about it?" Secretary of State Robert Turner was the first to speak. "Madam President, with all due respect, this is not our fight. We don't know these aliens. We don't know if their version of events is accurate. Getting involved could put Earth at risk. So, we just listen to them die?" asked Dr. Walsh, her voice sharp with anger. "These are people, Mr. Secretary. They have families, children, hopes and dreams just like us. And they're being murdered while we debate politics." General Rodriguez activated another hologram, this one showing sleek spacecraft that looked nothing like the space shuttles most people knew about. "Actually, we do have options. The USV Constitution completed its trials last month. It's our first faster-than-light warship, built from technology we've been developing in secret for 20 years. Jake stared at the ship in amazement. It was huge, nearly a kilometer long, and bristling with weapons he could not identify. "How is this possible? I thought we were decades away from faster-than-light travel. We've been working on it since the 1950s, the general replied. "Between recovered artifacts, theoretical breakthroughs, and some very smart scientists, we've managed to stay ahead of the public timeline. The Constitution can reach the alien world in 72 hours. President Carter looked around the room at her advisors. "If we do this, we'll be announcing to the galaxy that humanity exists. We'll be taking sides in an interstellar conflict we don't fully understand. And we'll be risking the only faster-than-light ship we have." "Madam President," interrupted Captain Ben Parker, a tall man with gray hair and scars from 3 different wars. "The Constitution needs a crew. I volunteer to command this mission." "Captain Parker, this could be a suicide mission. We don't know how advanced these Korthaks are or how many ships they have. Ma'am, I've been fighting bullies my whole life. I've never run from a fight when innocent people needed help, and I'm not starting now. Give me 200 volunteers and that ship, and we'll show these Korthaks what humans can do." The debate continued for hours. Some argued that humanity should stay hidden, that revealing themselves could bring disaster to Earth. Others argued that they had a moral duty to help, that standing by and doing nothing would make them as guilty as the attackers. Finally, President Carter called for silence. "Dr. Walsh, in your professional opinion, are these Zephyrians telling the truth about what's happening to them?" "Yes. Madam President, every piece of evidence we have supports their version of events. They are peaceful people being systematically exterminated by a militaristic empire that has done this before. General Rodriguez, what are our chances of success? Unknown, ma'am. We have one ship against what appears to be a large fleet. But the Constitution is designed for exactly this kind of mission, and Captain Parker is the best combat commander we have. President Carter stood up, and everyone in the room fell silent. Then it's decided. We cannot stand by and watch genocide happen, even if it's happening in another star system. Captain Parker, you have your mission. Take the Constitution and, as many volunteers as you can find, save those people. As the meeting broke up, Jake found himself shaking hands with Captain Parker. Sir, I'd like to volunteer for this mission. I was the one who received their distress call. I want to be there when we answer it. Captain Parker smiled grimly. Welcome aboard, Captain Morrison. We launch in 18 hours. News of the mission somehow leaked to the media within hours. Around the world, people watched in amazement as their governments confirmed that intelligent aliens existed and that humanity was about to make first contact while trying to stop a war. Some called it humanity's finest moment. Others called it the beginning of the end. At the secret spaceport in Nevada, 200 volunteers from every branch of the military and several civilian agencies boarded the Constitution. They came from dozens of countries, united by a single purpose, to answer a cry for help from people they had never met. People who lived so far away that their light took 47 years to reach Earth. As the Constitution prepared for launch, Captain Parker addressed his crew over the ship's communication system. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to make history. We are humanity's first ambassadors to the galaxy, and we're going there to save lives. The people we're trying to help don't know we exist. They don't know we're coming. They've given up hope that anyone will answer their call for help. The ship's engines came online with a deep humming sound that seemed to vibrate through every molecule of the vessel. Through the viewports, the crew could see Earth falling away below them as they rose toward the stars. But they're wrong, Captain Parker continued. Help is coming. Humanity is coming. And we're going to show the galaxy what happens when someone picks on innocent people while we're around. The Constitution engaged its fold space drive and disappeared into the darkness between the stars, carrying Earth's hopes and humanity's first warriors into the unknown. The Constitution dropped out of fold space at the edge of the Ethro system with a flash of blue light. Captain Ben Parker stood on the bridge, looking at the main view screen as sensors began picking up what lay ahead of them. What he saw made his jaw clench with anger. The beautiful blue and green planet that should have been Ethros Prime was barely visible through a cloud of smoke and debris. Massive alien warships, dark as coal and covered in spikes, surrounded the world like vultures around a dying animal. Smaller ships moved back and forth between the planet and the larger vessels, carrying what could only be prisoners or stolen goods. Sensor report, Captain Parker ordered. Commander Lisa Grant, the ship's tactical officer, studied her instruments with growing concern. Sir, I count 37 large warships and over 200 smaller vessels. Each of the big ships is about 3 times our size. Their weapons appear to be plasma-based, very powerful. Lieutenant Jake Morrison, who had insisted on coming along, was monitoring communications from his station. Captain, I'm picking up transmissions between their ships. They're speaking about how easy this conquest was. They're laughing about it, sir. Parker felt his hands forming fists. These aliens were not just killers. They were enjoying the murder of innocent people. Any word from the Zephyrians? Weak signals from underground, sir. Sounds like survivors, hiding in caves and shelters. They're still asking for help, but their voices sound like they've given up hope. Well, they're about to get their hope back. Open a channel to the enemy flagship. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the alien vessel. The creature that appeared was 9 feet tall and looked like a nightmare made real. Its skin was thick and armored like a crocodile's, but harder. Sharp claws clicked against metal as it moved, and its eyes were small and cruel. Battle scars covered its face and arms, proof of a lifetime spent in violence. "I am War Chief Thokgar of the Korthak Empire," the alien growled in perfect English, which surprised the human crew. "You will surrender your primitive vessel immediately, or be destroyed like the weaklings who lived on this world." Captain Parker stepped forward, his voice calm and steady. "This is Captain Ben Parker of the Earth vessel Constitution. I'm ordering you to stop your attack on the Zephyrian people and leave this system right now." The alien leader threw back his head and laughed, a sound like grinding metal that made several crew members wince. "Earth, we have never heard of this. Pathetic world. You dare to challenge the might of our empire with a single ship. We have conquered hundreds of worlds and destroyed 17 species completely. What makes you think you can succeed where entire fleets have failed?" Parker smiled. Coldly, "We're humans. That's all the advantage we need." "Humans," Thokgar repeated, testing the word. "Another weak species to add to our collection of slaves. You will make good entertainment in our fighting pits before we feed you to our war beasts. The only thing getting fed today will be your ships to our weapons. Last chance to leave peacefully." The Korthak chief snarled and cut the transmission. Within seconds, the Constitution sensors detected dozens of enemy ships turning toward them, weapons charging for battle. "All hands to battle stations," Parker announced over the ship's intercom. "This is not a drill. We are about to engage a superior enemy force to protect innocent civilians. Make every shot count." Lieutenant Commander Rick Santos sat at the pilots controls, his hands steady despite the odds they faced. He had flown combat missions in 3 different wars, but never anything like this. "Sir, they're coming at us in a standard attack formation. Looks like they expect us to try to run or hide behind the planet. Then let's give them something they don't expect. Rick, take us straight at their flagship, full speed." "Sir, that's suicide. They'll concentrate all their fire on us." "Trust me, Lieutenant Commander, I have a plan." The Constitution accelerated toward the enemy fleet at speeds that would have been impossible for most ships. The human vessel had been designed by people who understood that sometimes the best defense was a good offense. Its engines were more powerful than anything the Korthaks had ever seen, and its hull was made from materials that could withstand incredible punishment. The enemy ships opened fire when the Constitution was still thousands of kilometers away. Bright streams of plasma lit up space like deadly fireworks, but they all missed their target. The human ship was moving too fast and changing direction too quickly for the aliens to get a lock on it. "Their targeting systems are too slow, Commander," Grant reported with excitement. "They're designed to fight ships that move in predictable patterns. They can't keep up with our maneuvers." "Good. Now let's show them what real weapons look like. Target their flagship and fire antimatter torpedoes." What happened next shocked both the humans and the aliens. The Constitution's antimatter torpedo hit the Korthak flagship dead center, and the entire front section of the massive ship simply vanished in a ball of white light. The explosion was so bright that several nearby enemy vessels were blinded by it. "Direct hit, sir," Grant reported with amazement. "Their flagship is crippled. Half their bridge is gone." The Korthak fleet, which had never faced serious resistance before, began to panic. Their ships scattered in all directions, no longer following any kind of battle plan. Some tried to run, others tried to form defensive groups, but most just fired wildly at the human ship that seemed to appear and disappear like a ghost. Lieutenant Commander Santos pushed the Constitution through impossible maneuvers, using the planet's gravity and the debris from destroyed ships to hide their approach vectors. The ship would appear just long enough to fire its weapons, then vanish again before the aliens could return fire effectively. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface," Jake Morrison called out. "It's Elder Vexara, the Zephyrian. Leader, he says they can see the battle from their shelters. He wants to know if we're really here to help them." "Tell him that Earth keeps its promises," Parker replied as another Korthek ship exploded under their guns. "And tell him to keep his people in those shelters until we're done cleaning house up here." The battle continued for 6 hours. The Constitution, outnumbered nearly 40-1, used every advantage it possessed. Human military tactics, developed through centuries of warfare against other humans, proved devastating against aliens who had only ever fought helpless victims. The ship's artificial intelligence, programmed by the best minds on Earth, calculated firing solutions faster than any living creature could think. But the real difference was the antimatter weapons. While the Kortheks relied on plasma cannons, that took time to recharge between shots, human torpedoes carried enough destructive power to crack a moon. Each hit was devastating, and the Constitution carried enough ammunition to destroy a small fleet. One by one, the Korthek ships fell silent. Some were completely destroyed, others were left crippled and drifting. A few of the smaller vessels tried to escape to hyperspace, but the Constitution's faster engines allowed it to hunt them down before they could jump to safety. Finally, only the damaged flagship remained. War Chief Thokgar appeared on the screen. Again, but now his arrogant confidence was gone. Green blood ran down his face from a head wound, and his ship was burning around him. "What manner of demons are you?" he gasped. "What hell world could have spawned such warriors? We have conquered the galaxy for 1,000 years. No one has ever defeated us in battle." Captain Parker looked at the defeated alien with no pity. In his eyes, "We're humans, Chief. We come from a planet where everything tries to kill you from the day you're born. We've been fighting wars since before your empire existed, and we don't negotiate with bullies who murder children." "Please," Thokgar pleaded, his voice breaking. "Spare my ship. I can give you information about our other fleets, our homeworlds, our weaknesses. The only thing you're going to give me is your word that the Korthek Empire will never again attack innocent people, because if you do, we'll come for you. All of us. And next time, we won't be as gentle as we were today." The Korthek chief's face showed terror as he realized what that meant. This single human ship had destroyed his entire fleet. What could 100 such ships do? What about 1,000? "I understand," he whispered. "The Korthek Empire will remember this day. We will remember the humans. See that you do. Now get out of this system and don't come back." As the crippled Korthak flagship limped away into hyperspace, the Constitution turned toward Ethros Prime. The planet was still smoking from the bombardment, but it was free. The survivors could come out of their hiding places and begin to rebuild their world. Captain Parker sat back in his command chair, suddenly feeling very tired. They had won, but the victory felt hollow when he thought about all the Zephyrians who had died before help could arrive. "Sir," Commander Grant said quietly, "we're receiving transmissions from all over the galaxy. Word of the battle is spreading fast. Some of the other species that were conquered by the Kortheks are starting to fight back." Parker nodded. They had come to save one world, but maybe they had done something bigger. Maybe they had shown the galaxy that bullies could be beaten, that evil could be stopped, that someone was willing to fight for what was right. "Take us down to the planet, Rick. It's time to meet the people we came to save."